welcome. We're doing an impromptu talk here with Zan Perrion, and I think most of you know Zan. If you don't know Zan, you should definitely get to know Zan. He's a legend when it comes to, and we both hate the word pickup. It's not about pickup. It's about seduction. It's about living a life, the life that you've chosen. So we're going to sit here and have a discussion with Zan about some of his principles, and we're going to go a little deep each week into each principle, and we're going to play with like 4 or 5 of your principles a little bit and just see what comes out. And for those of you that want to know more about Zan, I'm just going to say this ahead of time. Make sure you check out the book Alabaster Girl. It's a book that every guy that's working on this area of his life should read. He wrote it over 10 years.
10 years.
And it's a powerful book. But don't read it like a how-to manual. It is a primer, the way I see it, and Zan can comment on this if he feels the same, but I feel that book is a primer for how you access the feeling of a true seducer, a man that's good with women, a man that loves women. And that book creates so many feelings in your body. I remember sitting in Starbucks reading it, and I'm reading some of these stories you wrote, and I'm getting really kind of almost turned on by the way you wrote them, because they're so, the woman, the man, the dance, and you feel the dance, and you feel yourself start to feel these emotions. Then I look up and some girl's smiling at me. Because that's what's coming off my body now. Yeah. Versus, here's a list of 4 steps how to do this.
Yeah, the way I wrote the book was, instead of just saying that here's what men say or do that have women in their lives, I tried to write it so that it captured the feel of it in the words. So the words, it's a wordy book, and it kind of has a rhythm, musicality to it, and it had to have that so you get the sense of the rhythm and the ebb and flow between men and women. That was my goal. That had to be written that way.
And you did a phenomenal job with it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
That's the one area that you are an expert in. I think you're an expert in that rhythm.
Yeah.
You have a rhythm to everything you do with men and with women, and men and women, and how they dance off of each other.
Because I see everything, because like in my 20s, if you guys know my story a bit, I was completely insecure and lost, and trying to be cool and in my head and trying to second guess. And so I was too nervous to ever go talk to girls, but I would go to bars all the time, and I would stand by myself like this, trying to be cool, and just stand there, and I watched and I watched and I watched and I watched, and I saw the ebb and flow and the dynamic and how a party moves around and how the people move here and who likes who, and if I could say that I am an expert in anything, it's that watching that rhythm and know what's going on. I have eyes in the back of my head. If I can see what's happening over here and who's going to walk over here eventually, it's like a chess game to me. I can feel it all. Yeah. Just because of standing for years and years and watching it all.
And that rhythm is, how does it, let's start with that rhythm as the first topic, talking about what that rhythm is, what it looks like. A lot of guys can't see that rhythm at all, can they?
No, but once your eyes are open to it, it's a shock to your system when you first feel it, and then you see it everywhere. You start to feel it, because women are communicating on a sub-communicated level. They're like, virtually dropping the hanky.
Well, they're constantly creating that rhythm, aren't they?
They're always looking for it, and when you tune into it, and start to create it yourself, and start to get into the flow yourself, your eyes are open. And so that's why, guys, there's a lot of guys out there that are just learning what to say and how to say something and say the next phrase and answer. She says this, go to the next phrase. But the real greats out there, the men who have women who just adore them, and they move through women, the land of women with ease. There's something out of the corner of their eye, the corner of their mouth, that's an energy that is expressed, that is subtle, and nobody sees it, but women all see it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's not. That's why you'll see some guys that are not saying too much, just standing there, whatever. But there's something about them that the women are like, who is this guy? Because of the ebb and flow.
Do you know who Perper is? The guy, the last name Perper. I can't remember his first. Have you ever heard the name?
No.
You remind me of him when you talk about this. He did a study on men and women, and he did a huge study.
Yeah.
And he sat in bars for endless hours watching the men and women interact, studying, just like you did.
That's cool.
And he came to the realization, statistically, based on what he saw over a long period of time, I can't tell you how long, that only 1 in 31 men could read a woman's subcommunication.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing he said was that if you asked a man and you asked a woman who started the conversation between a man and a woman in a bar, men will all say, well, I walked up to her, I started it. But women know that most of the time they started it.
Of course. They're the ones that are out there like broadcasting on a very subtle subcommunicated level that I'm available, I'm cheerful, I would like to meet somebody, I'm lonely these days, I would like to, and it's so subtle that you know, and when you start to see that rhythm, man, you see it everywhere, and then you can pick up on it. That's why like people say, well, do you approach girls? I never approach. Should I say never? I think, yeah, never. I never approach unless I get the sense that I'm about 75% sure I'm invited.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, I don't go cold calling girls and tap them on the shoulder. Hey girls, I got a quick question for you. I don't do this. I don't jump into the set, as you can say. Instead, I'm watching from here, and I'm talking to my buddy Brian, and we're hanging out at the bar here, sort of thing, and I'm watching, and I leave nothing to chance.
And women are all doing this too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So every girl that catches my eye across the place, I let her know I see you, and I see you too. And don't worry, I see you too. It's so subtle that nobody knows it, but I let them know with a nod or just an eye flash. Yeah, I see you. Don't worry, I'll talk to you eventually. And then I'm watching for the return on that. If they look at you and they just glance away, you would waste your time if you went over and said, hey, can I get your Facebook, blah, blah, blah. You waste your time. She's married or she's not interested. But if they look, if you give them this little signal that I see you and you look great in your dress with your eyes and say a word, I'm over here, and she smiles and glances back again, or she starts whispering to her girlfriend, or she starts adjusting her necklace and going like this. Now that's a subtle invitation. You could walk over to that girl and you would have a positive reception. So that's what I do. I approach from afar.
So you're playing when you're in a bar, and this is something, because I was thinking about somebody else that talked about this recently, another natural who was not an approacher, but he approached women. So what he said, which fascinated me, was he said he talked a lot about positioning is key.
Absolutely.
And he said, I'm always positioning myself and moving myself in the bar to make sure I get noticed by the woman I'm interested in, so that suddenly she turns around and she just sees me. And I want to make sure she doesn't catch me at first looking at her. So I'm constantly playing with my subtle gaze a little. And then when I feel her glance my direction, I want to make sure I catch her looking at me. So
I've never heard anybody say, who is this guy?
This guy Brad P interviewed many years ago.
Wow, I've never heard anybody say that.
Called Pheromone Kid.
Because that's what I do all the time. I'm optimally positioning myself. If I go into a bar, if you guys come out with me every time, you never see me standing in the corner and drinking beers with the guys in the corner. Let's get over here where there's going to be a flow. There's the women's washroom. Yeah, this looks like a good spot to stand right here. Lean against this bar, Brian. And we watch that, and I leave nothing to chance. I'm always making sure that they notice me, not by jumping around, waving, dancing, breakdancing, and being that guy. No, because I stand kind of still, right? But I leave nothing to chance. If a girl's walking this way, I make sure that she sees me. I do a little bit of this. She has to go.
It's very similar to what he described.
Yeah, it's the greatest thing.
So he would say that, he said, like, for example, I would see a girl that's in a group and I want to make sure she notices me.
Yeah.
And suddenly I see her get up and leave the group. Now I know there's at least a 50% chance she's probably gone to the bathroom.
Exactly.
So then I position myself between the group and the bathroom, somewhere in between. So when she comes back, we accidentally catches my gaze right as she walks by.
Yeah.
And then I he tries to make sure that she catches his gaze.
Yeah.
And then he looks at her and then she'll look away, get nervous. Or the other one he said, and I want to ask you about this one, because this is also part of what he would do, is he would catch her gaze, and if she holds it, he says, I shy away first.
I do too.
And he says, I'll look down.
That's interesting.
He says, I look down, I get shy inside, then I look back at her.
That's interesting because I'm intense, and if I'm looking at a girl like this, I can be overwhelming. So I give her lots of breaks. I see her like, oh yeah, it's a great girl. You're my kind of girl. You can feel it, right? This is what I'm portraying across the space. Is yeah, you're my type of girl, and I can see you, yeah, and I can feel it, and you feel it too. Otherwise, if it's too much, you'll never see me staring down a girl like this, or like, I don't do it because it's too intense. But I let her know I see you, and I notice you, and you notice me now too because I made sure you did, and we'll get to each other eventually.
Yeah.
That's kind of the energy of it. Yeah.
It's very much the energy of it, and it is it's a subtle dance, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You're actually starting to dance from across the room, and,
Yeah.
and I think I'm going to add one more part to this rhythm topic that is something you say a lot. That a huge part of this rhythm topic is why women are complicit in their own seduction.
Oh yeah, no question.
They're backleading the seduction.
Absolutely.
Like a great dancer is backleading the dance.
Exactly. I mean, like, you look at any kind of a dance, and like, in theory, I mean, the modern world's gone a little topsy-turvy. But in theory, the man, the woman signals her intention that she's available. So she places herself in a way that maybe somebody will come dance, invite me to dance, but she doesn't want to walk across the floor to ask you to dance, which is what women are feeling they have to do nowadays because guys are just standing around.
Yeah.
Instead, she signals her availability, and then the right minds, the right eyes will pick up on it and extend a hand. And it's not a dragging her out. It's she has to willingly put her hand there too. It's like she has to be received, right? So it's an invitation.
But you're not talking about, you don't physically walk up all the time.
No, that's a metaphor.
Yeah.
No, I don't do that. I don't do this. But the idea of it is that you're signaling that you see them, that you notice them, and then you're looking for the ones who are receptive to that, and are open-hearted to that, and then you have a spirit of invitation thereafter, right? So it's like the dance. It's not like extending your hand, but the invitation is in your spirit, as opposed to trying to pick them up or trying to convince. What I'll never do is try and convince a girl. Like, that's why people talk about last-minute resistance. If I feel any kind of twinge of that, I'm like, no, you know what? You're safe. You're completely safe. I fully respect. I'll get you home, get your cab, drive you home, whatever. To try and convince her, get her some more wine, and try and convince a girl into my bed.
So this is an interesting thing.
Not a chance.
I play with this too, and I was with a woman just recently, and we're dancing back and forth, and you can feel the resistance, and there's a sense of, but yet she wants to be there, and you can totally feel it, and so there's that sense of, well, I'm going to back up now, and I'm going to and then I'm going to give her space to come to me.
You have to,
and almost do it but you do it in not enough. You need to come to me. You have to do it in that playful.
It's a rhythm.
It's a rhythm. It's a back up, and you go, oh yeah, it's okay. I don't want to do anything you don't want to do. I'm just going to sit back and. And then there's that sense of, she's like, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, I know what, and I remember she said it. She goes, what she said to me was, women really well. So, she was basically saying, I'm saying this, but come back.
Of course.
So.
You need that. You need to give her lots of space, because she has to be a willing participant in the dance.
Exactly.
If you are too passive, then there's nothing in you that has any energy of moving forward. It's just like, he's a nice guy. And if you're just full on force, aggressive, and not giving her any kind of autonomy in there, then you might get her in bed because you wear her out, right? And it's easier than to keep saying no to you and push you away, sort of thing. But she has to be willingly a participant in the dance, otherwise.
Well, and another part of the rhythm thing is, if you do it right, I think it completely changes her experience the next day and the way she remembers you, of course. Because this is a big piece in the rhythm, is guys who just kind of are like freight trains, and they get to go in bed, like you said.
They might get to go in bed,
Yeah, and then, okay, great, we had sex, but the next day she's like, okay.
Yeah.
But that if you do the rhythm.
Yeah.
And
if she's a willing, I'm telling you, like I'm always checking in with a girl. Like, I'm always like, you're here, you came to see me, you're on a date, you wore this little dress for me, brought all this for me. Fantastic. My energy is like, I'm always up.
But he didn't ask her, do you want to be here? He said,
he said, you are here. And I honor that, and I respect that. And that's cool, because I like you, and now let's get some wine.
Yeah.
And then throughout the whole date, it's that same energy. And if the girl were to come into my place, or into my bed, it's the same spirit of like, you're here because you're willing to be here, and I respect and honor that, and you feel the same thing I do. Mm-hmm. You feel that too, and you're here willingly, and it's a celebration more than anything. It's not a convincing and like, okay, what do I do now? What should I say? I don't want to get her to cab because maybe she'll stay a little bit longer. and manipulation. The Uber's really late here. Maybe you should just sleep, all that nonsense.
And seduction to me is not manipulation. It's a dance.
No.
And so then the next day, she feels like she had a beautiful experience with somebody
Exactly.
and this is a topic we're going to go into in another video, but that really witnessed her.
Yeah, saw her.
Yeah.
That noticed her. Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me is everything. I remember, and I want to hear and I think you would take it the same way I did, but I was with a girl, this was a long time ago, but I was with this girl and I realized that she likes me. And we weren't on a date, we were just hanging out. And suddenly this girl starts playing with me. And I'm like, oh, she likes me. And then I realized she was trying to seduce me. So immediately my mind goes to, she's flirting with me, she's applying tension, she's doing all this stuff to entice me, and then I realized she wants to seduce me. So my first thought is, I need to give her something to seduce.
Yeah, that's correct.
Versus just run over there and give in.
Yeah.
So I pulled my energy back just enough, but gave her just enough so she could seduce me. Because I liked her, I thought she was cool, and it was great. And I put my hand near her because I could fear her trying to figure out how to touch me a little bit. And I'm like, I'm gonna backlead this.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let her seduce me now, and it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna watch how she does it. And I was super curious what she was gonna do. And I got super curious. And I remember the first thing she did, which fascinated me, and I really want to hear your comments on this, is she started looking at me and she goes, "Why? I see what you're doing." And I go, this is when I realized what she was doing. I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, that your eye contact, the way you look at me, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, your eyes are very intense.
Yeah.
Why do you do that?" I see you're doing something to me. And then I looked at her and I thought for a minute, and I looked down and I said, because I didn't realize I was doing anything. And then it hit me. I was like, I'm looking at you because you won't stop staring at me. I said this to her. I said, you were staring at me first. And so I decided just to stare back and enjoy your eyes.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, yeah, I can do that. And then she comes over and sits next to me and she's like, well, it would make me feel better. And I put my hand near her because I could see what she was doing. And she goes, well, make me feel, I like touch. Maybe if I just hold your hand and massage
just
it
a little bit.
Just a little bit,
just a touch.
That'll make me calm down. And so I was like, okay. And then I stayed kind of passive and I let her and I put my hand there, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she's massaging and I'm like, okay.
That's fantastic. There's a dance happening there. And
Yeah.
people say, what's the difference if you put your hand near her? What's the difference between that and manipulation? That's artificially doing something. No, that's giving space for her to step into it. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're dancing with a girl and you twirl her, it's not you hold up her hand and forcibly spin her around. You hold up your hand like this as a leader and give her the space to willingly twirl, to be seen by everybody.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. You have to give her that space by not being the guy that's continually doing everything. Give her a chance to step into that light too, which she wants to do. And then she feels like she's willingly caught up in it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the spirit.
It's a total dance, guys. And so many guys, like that arm twirl example, you'll see guys grab a girl's arm and try to force her around, and they'll try to, and they're like cranking on her, and and that can't be fun for her. And unfortunately, how many guys? Because Perper said what he said was only 1 in 31 men were conscious of this ability.
That's really interesting.
So, do you think that number's accurate?
I have no doubt to believe that it's inaccurate. Yeah, for sure. Most guys I talk to have no clue what I'm talking about until they go out with me for a night or two. And I say, watch this. Let's watch. Just stand here and it's like, see these girls? Well, let's go talk to them. Well, you stand right here. Stay here, right here. Stay here, brother. Stay right here. Now watch this rhythm and interaction and watch the flow, and they'll be over here. We get them over here. Don't worry about that. So yeah, absolutely. But so I would say, yeah, 90% or the 1 in 31, for sure, most guys have no clue. So they don't see it at all.
This brings up the next topic, which you just started to allude to, is how do you learn it? How would you, I know you watched it over 10 years.
Yeah.
If a guy out there says, well, I don't have 10 years, I'm 40, 50 years old, I want to learn this, how can I learn it fast?
Well, that's the kind of work that you guys are doing,
and you
and me. And this is the kind of thing that I don't coach. I don't teach guys, how to be, more authentic. There's a lot of voices out there doing that, or how to be more interesting or whatever. I don't actually coach on that level. All I do is watch the rhythm And so if a guy spends, I do one-on-one coaching with guys, but not very often because I'm.
You also do the 4-on-1, or do you still do that?
I don't do it anymore.
Okay.
I do one-on-one, maybe 2-on-1, but I don't do it very often because I'm really lazy, and I want to work on my next book. But if I do, I do what I call a Ars Amorata experience, which is basically an extended weekend with me, day and night. Me and that guy, we walk around the city, we eat together, we talk together, we go out together.
Really watching this rhythm.
Yeah, and in the first night, I know what this guy needs. The first evening, and then the rest of the 3 days is just like getting him to experience and see it. I can see the way he's showing up in the world with women if they're leaning away from him. No one can see it, or if they're leaning into him. I can feel if his energy is pushing him away or pushing him back, whatever. And I can adjust it on that level that fast within the first evening. I can say, here's what you're doing, and this is how you need to shift it. No more information. I don't coach information. Everybody out that's listening to this has 10 years of reading, information, watching YouTube videos, getting coached, going to workshops, program. That first evening, I know what the guy has to do.
So I think this is a brilliant way to do it. If you want to contact, is your website still
Ars Amorata.
I wanted to say zanperrion.com, and I know it used to be that Ars Amorata, and I should have known that. But
Ars Amorata.
I remember the old website. I love that old website.
Yeah, I still have it too.
The one with the girl's eyes that moved.
Oh yeah.
I love that site, but it drew me right in every time.
Wow.
And that was zanperrion.com, so
Yeah.
that's what sticks in my head. But I think that's one of the most brilliant ways to learn it. If you sit down with somebody like Zan for an evening or 4 evenings, and you watch him do it, and he shows you, and you experience it over and over. It's one of the most powerful ways. And how? Because this is one of the most difficult skills to learn. I think it's one and one of the most important.
Exactly, and doing that because guys have information to pack in their head, and my whole thing is like to get that information so that it now goes thunk, and you feel it here, even if you've just a whisker of feeling it, and for the rest of your life you'll remember what that feeling felt like to get that information and get it to embody it, right?
Yeah, that's what we talk about.
And to take that shift down. And it's
I
what I like
pointed
to do.
Right here too.
It's what I like to do the most, and it's the only thing I want to do going forward is like that. Take a guy and say, listen, I had a guy last week, and I said this. I sat down and said, listen, you're 34 years old. You said in your application that you want to learn this and this and this and this. 34 years old. Let me take a look at you and get a sense of who you are and how you show up in the world. Let's go and interact, and I'll watch you. I'll never take my eyes off you, even if I'm looking this way. And I know very, very shortly what how his energy is repulsing or drawing in. And I know how to hear, you're doing this to do this. It's not like stand different, put your shoulder like this more. It's none of that. It's like what's coming out of your eyes and your spirit,
It's I think even before the body language,
exactly.
There's an energy, there's a feeling, there's an emotion, and there's a sensation. And that's what you're getting down to, is what drives even the body language and the subtle communication. There's something even that drives that.
Yeah.
And that's the core of it.
I say to guys, listen, if you want to get a sense of what this means, the next time a waitress comes up to you and you're sitting and you're going to order eggs for breakfast or something, try and compliment her without saying a word. Try and compliment, for instance,
I love this.
Her dress without saying one word. How would you do it? And guys go, what should I do? You don't tell me. How would you do it? How would you express it? If you can't use words, how are you going to say to this girl, this woman in a bar or party, man, you look lovely and I like it? How are you going to say that? You have to use what? Your eyes, right? Your smile, your expression. You have nothing else.
Your emotional state.
Your emotional state. Something's got to emit from you.
Yeah.
That she can feel. So do that exercise. Guys go, I don't know what to do. Well, start to sit in that and start to wonder how I do that. How do I do that?
I love this exercise and it's really good, but I would say for all you guys that heard him say that, don't just do it once. Do it a bunch of times over and over, because you're gonna need to play with it.
I do it my whole life. I do it all the time. I don't care if the waitress is 80 years old. She feels that I see you too, dear.
Yeah.
I see you too.
And that's important.
That's the beauty needs a witness.
Yeah, and that's where we're going into next. I want to ask one more question before I close this topic, which is I think an important question. How, for a guy out there that says, I don't have the money, I don't have the ability, maybe he's a guy who's really broke. how hard, or is there a way for him to learn this on his own? What's his, and maybe there isn't. Or maybe it's sitting for 10 years.
Oh, no. Like, I would never say that the only way to get any kind of understanding is to come through Brian or Dave or me. I would never say that. If you're dedicated to, honestly, if you really, really have a dedication to this above all, no matter what, and you set your mind to it, and it becomes the project of your life, you will, the right people will come into your life, or the right circumstance will come into your life, or the right girl will come into your life. It gives you the next piece, and it's not like you have to like short circuit it with any kind of coaching. Having said that, there's a lot of years, there's a lot of experience packed into these two chairs. There's a lot of experience here, and so my whole thing is, if I can give a guy just a bit of a shortcut, so he doesn't have to do the 20 years of standing around trying to be cool in a bar like I did, 30 years.
Well, it's a little more than a bit of a shortcut.
A little bit more of a shortcut.
Yeah, it's a big shortcut.
But absolutely, if you dedicated to it and you cast aside everything that, I'm taking karate lessons, I'm doing this, cast it all aside and go and figure this out. Go into the wind, go travel, go and fight for this. You do that with that kind of intensity and that kind of, I want this no matter what the cost, you'll get it sorted out. It might take time.
The guys that I've seen that figured it out without going out and getting a coach are the ones that really dedicate a ton of time to it and just say, this is my major goal in life right now. And it still takes them a while, And
there's stuff you guys do is like to get because we're in our heads and we're trying to figure it out. And what you do is is virtually remove that from their heads, and so they can't be in their heads anymore. The work you guys do, it's down.
Yeah.
It's down here. It's a downshift, so you can only experience it from here.
Yeah. Feel
it from here. And once you get a sense of that, what it feels like for the first time, most guys have never ever felt their bodies or moved through life with their belt buckles first. When I walk through a party bar, my belt buckle's going before I am. And when I'm talking to a girl, that's where it's come from. Wow, because it's a vibration, right? I don't talk, hey, I got a blah, 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 girls, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, there's a vibration going down and comes from here.
Yeah.
That's where my voice comes from.
And you have that down and that up.
Yeah.
And you can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
Yeah, or it doesn't work. Well, this is a great topic, and I want you guys to make sure you check out Zan's website, arsamorata.com.
Arsamorata.com.
And make sure to check out, he's got, if you're interested in his 4-day, I think the 4-day is an amazing program. Can they find that on the website? Or do they have this content?
Yeah, it's rare to get in though, because I don't do it very often and there's a demand for it, but absolutely reach out to me. Okay. We've also got our fundamentals program, which is our 90-day Ars Amorata course.
That's where most people start too.
Yeah, start there. Okay. And get my book. I'll send one to you.
The Alabaster Girl.
Go to alabastergirl.com, because I have a bunch of books that I have sitting in a closet. and at alabastergirl.com, if you want a copy of my book, I'll sign it and send it to you. You just have to pay for the shipping. That's all it is. And wait, 3 weeks or whatever.
Here's the amazing part, guys. He doesn't make any money on these.
No.
He just gives them away. He just wants the book out there. So, I mean, I know this. I've talked to him about it many times, and so if you really want a copy, I can't guarantee he'll be doing this forever.
No, I've got 1,000 copies sitting in the closet. So,
and then when they're gone, they're gone.
When they're gone, they're gone. Yeah. But I'll sign it and send it to you. I used to lose $2 a book when I sent them out before. The shipping went up, so I raised the shipping out. It was at $7 or $8, and now it's $9.95, and because they raised the shipping on me. What the heck? I was losing $2 a book. Anyway, cover the cost, and I'll send you a book autographed for you.
So with that said, I want to thank Zan for this first installment. We're going to be jumping into the next installment next week. You'll be seeing it. The next one we're going to get into is really understanding this idea that beauty needs a witness. It's something that I think is a super powerful concept. We're going to dig a little deeper into it. So make sure you check out the next video. Like the video if you got some value out of this, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, and make sure to comment below. I'd love to see your comments. We definitely respond to as many comments as we can, constantly checking them. So check out the comments, and remember, only the content are really real. Take care. We'll see you in the next video.